Hey, in this exercise, we're going to be bouncing a ball in place. Technically, it's not going to be too difficult because the ball's only going to be moving up and down. However, in order for the bounce to feel realistic, the typical ease in, ease out isn't really going to work. We're going to need to use the graph editor for this. But it shouldn't be too bad because the important thing is going to be moving the y value, the up and down value. So those are going to be the targets for this section. So we're going to go to Composition, New Composition. And we're going to name the new one Exercise 6. And I'm going to change the duration to 5 seconds. I'm not sure if that's going to be long enough or too long, but we'll find out once we're done. If it's too long or too short, we can change the duration afterwards. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to go and create an ellipse by left mouse down on the rectangle and selecting the ellipse tool. And I'm going to left mouse down and drag and hold down Shift so that it is a ball. There we go. And I'm going to grab the pan behind, click off, click back on. There's the anchor point. There we go. Now I'm going to place it on the bottom or in the middle. Doesn't really matter. We're not really going to do squash and stretch with this ball. We're just going to be working on the timing. So I guess I'll just put it on the bottom. That way if we did decide to add any squash and stretch, the ball would be prepared for that. Okay, so let's start at the top, and I'm going to go to transform. I'm going to close contents, and I'm going to hit position. Then I'm going to go maybe 8 frames later, and that's a guess. Left mouse down and drag, and I'm holding Shift. There we go. Then I'm going to go a little further. Oops. I'm actually grabbing the curve and moving it. I need to grab the ball and move it. Hold down Shift, move it up, but not as high as it was. And then I'm going to go a little further. And I'm going to copy and paste the ground because I don't want the ground to change. In fact, it would probably help to have a ground plane. So actually, before I continue, let's do Layer, New. Solid would work for this as well. Solid or shape. We'll just go with shape because shape is what we've been working with so far. So I'm just going to left mouse down on the primitive, grab the rectangle tool, and draw a floor. Let's make it not the same color as the ball. I'm going to take the fill, and we'll turn it green. There we go. And I'm going to name this ground or floor. We'll name this ball. Okay, and close ground, ball. Okay, then move it up. We're not quite done yet, but it would actually be helpful right now if we could start looking at the graph. If we were to play this right now, not very realistic, not a very good bouncing ball. It's also going a little fast over here, but that's not the only reason why this is not not very good. And yes, we could add an ease out here, and then when it bounces at the top, we can add an easy ease. And if we did that, it's a little better, but it's not enough. We'll really need to have more control. So let's go into the graph. And we can still continue to add keys after we've started manipulating the graph. So first I'm going to go to the position, and we have this little graph symbol, and I'm going to tap on it. And that just means that when we go into the graph editor, which is right over here, that this value will be there. So we have, when you click on it, 2 different colored lines, red and green. The red is the X value. The X value, even though it has keys, isn't changing because the ball is just bouncing in place. It has keys because we've been keying it for the Y value, but it doesn't have any movement in the X. The Y is what's changing. Now the Y can seem a little bit confusing because It's the up and down motion. However, it's the bottom number that's indicating how high the ball actually is. So the first bounce is starting from the highest position. If I go back to the beginning, start from the highest position, and then it comes down, and that's the key of it on the ground. And the reason why they're converging is just because they're both, that's just how they're laying on the graph. In order to actually make real changes to this, it would be better to separate the X and the Y. We don't really want to do anything to the X. So what I'm going to do is go to Position, right mouse click, and Separate Dimensions. Also, we're limited in what changes we can make if they were kept together. So I'm going to just get rid of the, X on the graph because we're not going to make any changes to it. So this is showing the path that the ball is taking, which is a sort of linear path. We actually want to take a curved path from the top. So this is the top of the bounce. We want it to stay in the air longer and come down slowly and then speed up. So I'm going to do is take this handle and move it this way. So now, if we scrub it, you can see it lingers at the top for a while. If I hit the space bar, there we go. And now here, when I click on this, there are no handles. So we're going to need to make some. I'm going to go to the pen tool, left mouse down, and grab the Convert Vertex tool. I'm going to tap this to get rid of the handles there, because those points are meant to be impactful. It is hitting something. I'm going to grab these and pull them apart. There we go. And let's actually move these points over a little bit and give that first bounce a little more time. Oops. Grab these and let's move. There we go. Let's move them over. Give this a little more time to be in the air. That's better. This is okay. Let's make it a little longer. No. Move this one over. So you can actually move the keyframes, and you can see that the time indicator is still up at the top. So by moving them to the right and giving them more space, I am slowing it down. But the curves are favoring the top of the bounce. So that just means that they're staying at the top much longer. And then once they gain speed, or once they've gained speed, it goes much, much quicker. And they travel from about 3/4 to the ground very, very quickly. The rest of the frames, they're hovering at the top. Okay. So this one, let's give it a handle. And I'm going to copy and paste this keyframe. I want the floor to be in the same place. Okay. See how that looks. And let's grab the ball and move it up. And I don't want it to go as high because the ball is losing energy. There's nothing to keep it bouncing at the same rate. It should be weakening and weakening. There we go. Then go a few frames ahead. Grab this key, copy, paste. And again, a triangular shape like this, where it goes straight up and then straight down, usually implies that it's hitting something. But it's not hitting something, it's just bouncing in place. So if it's just bouncing in place, or even if it's moving around, unless it's hitting something, it's typically going to be moving in arcs. So we have an arced path here, even though it's a path of an up and down path. So these arcs are just representing the easing of the object. Okay, and grab the ball. Okay, and then the ball has lost a lot of energy, so maybe just movement starting to be minimal. Let's see if that works. Okay. Let's change the green background color to something with a little bit more contrast. There we go. So we can see the ball more easily. Okay, grab the ball. Oops. Gotta make sure we're grabbing the ball. There we go. And I'm just going to copy this key, but just move it down. Paste. Okay, so there should be barely anything now. Copy paste. Okay. And maybe repeat this one more time. Oops. Okay. And let's grab the convert vertex and give these arcs. They're going to be so minimal, probably won't even really notice them too much, but let's see how that looks. Okay. There we go. And that is our ball bouncing in place and slowly losing energy until it stops, while maintaining it only in place. We're not moving it across the stage yet. And there we go. The duration of the bouncing ends at about 4 or about 3.5, a little past that. So let's change the duration of the animation to 4 seconds, because that does give it a pause, but not too long of one. So we can go to composition, composition settings, and we're just going to change the duration to 4. Okay, and Command S for save or file save, and that is bouncing